Ladies and gentlemen, ancient Greece, 18 minutes reaction. I did the Roman reaction, that was really good. It's time to do this one.
Ancient Greece, the Parthenon, the 300 Spartans, and blind Homer's Iliad and Odyssey are familiar to all. Yet there were far more than 300 Spartans.
Well,
Parthenon
obviously.
was actually built as a kind of central bank, and no such unified state as ancient Greece with Athens as its capital ever existed.
Yeah, I knew
The
that.
Trojan War was as distant in time to Alexander the Great as the Vikings are to ourselves. So let's try to get
Wait, the Trojan War. I don't even know anything about the Trojan War. Bro, there's so much about freaking history that I don't know, bro. I could probably go make a reaction video to the Trojan War. I don't know. Depends on if that's like a popular topic. I don't know. But I really do have to learn about the Trojan War.
around ancient Greece, and hopefully a little quicker than in 2,000 years.
Alright.
3,716 years ago, the pyramids of Egypt were already standing, and Babylon was the world's first megapolis, home to a prototype of the Tower of Babel. On Crete, however, a mysterious civilization was flourishing. It had three-storied palaces, and all this with no defenses. The Cretans apparently led a relatively peaceful life, admiring flowers, blue monkeys, and beautiful women, walked around topless, while the men preferred loincloths or skirts. The Cretans had a navy and their own writing system, and nobody has yet succeeded in deciphering them.
Wow. Wow, that is actually super cool. There's a whole, I mean, it makes sense that, it didn't have any walls because, it's an island, and if the people were peaceful, again, it's a very small island, you can't do much.
On the island of Thera, the modern-day wedding paradise of Santorini, all this ended.
What happened?
The greatest volcanic eruption in European history. Part of Thera sank beneath the waves, presumably giving rise to the myth of Atlantis. Tsunamis 100 meters high and vast ash clouds stretching for thousands of miles around.
And it's close to Crete, too.
And invaders soon swarmed in. The once peaceful island then filled with bronze weapons and tablets written in a new, strange language, which turned out to be the earliest known form of Greek, spoken by warlike tribes, which had settled the nearby Greek mainland, building such cities as Thebes, Athens, Mycenae, and Pylos. But these cities already sheltered behind 6-meter walls. Life here was not peaceful at all.
Wait. So ancient Greece has its origin from Crete. Is that what I'm getting? That's what I'm getting at. Ancient Greece has its origins on Crete. Really? Wow.
A few centuries later,
bro, for a second I thought he was talking about Cyprus for a second. In my brain, my brain is so bad.
Greeks themselves explained them with legends of cyclopean builders and were no longer aware that any other civilization had come before them on Crete. By this logic, even the half-bull Minotaur was half Greek. Nobody batted an eyelid at the fact that games with bulls were a purely Cretan form of entertainment. Greeks appropriated everything they met on their way with great virtuosity. In conquering Crete, they had conquered the seas. Marine trade saw them grow even richer. Almost all the inscriptions found among the heaps of gold in the tombs of Mycenae are financial accounts. Mycenae took the lead in the fight against Troy.
This is kind of more interesting than the ancient Rome one. The ancient Rome one was really good, but this one is a lot more interesting.
In Homer's Iliad. As recently as 150 years ago, this story was considered a fairy tale until a millionaire and amateur archaeologist, Heinrich Schliemann, excavated Mycenae and Troy. A replica of the legendary Trojan horse now stands here.
Hey.
Archaeologists have indeed found traces of fire and destruction at
Okay,
Troy,
that is
but
actually
this was
cool.
accompanied by the decline of virtually.
Wait. So the Trojan horse is real? Is that what I'm getting at? Or am I confusing that wrong? That's cool though. Someone went and actually like proved that a myth was real. It really makes you wonder like how many myths that we know that we think are myths but aren't myths. You know what I mean? This is why I believe what a lot of the Bible has to say as well. 'Cause a lot of people don't believe in the Bible. I believe in the Bible because a lot of stuff back then in the Bible era is erased from history just due to time. It's very old. A lot of people just don't really see it, so they don't really believe it. But the more I learn about stuff like this, the more I believe. It make me personally. Because if you know the stories of the Bible, you'll understand what I mean, But yeah, it makes me believe in the Bible a lot more. Let's continue.
All regional settlements, unceasing attacks by barbarian tribes turned the whole Mediterranean into a war zone.
I feel like the Mediterranean is always a war zone.
The next 400 years were a dark age. Literacy fell into oblivion, leaving us with nothing to read about the events then taking place. Fortunately, what we do have is Homer. Everybody has heard about the blind poet,
What?
the author of the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Oh,
In actual
him!
fact,
I thought
we
he was
don't know
actually.
what Homer looked like or when he lived.
Yo, I thought he was talking about like the actual Homer from
Whether he was
Simpsons.
one man or many. But even though the Iliad and Odyssey were written down after the Dark Ages, the daily routines of its characters take us right back to this time. Odysseus, for instance, was only king by virtue of his larger flocks of pigs and goats. His father slept on the ground in ashes with his slaves. Homer's characters were
Wow.
illiterate.
Wait. So this guy has slaves and he's sleeping on the same floor as his slaves? What the heck? So he's living the same condition as his slaves? Wow, that is very
Use heads of cattle in place
that's
of
something.
money. A far cry from Crete and Mycenae with their three-storied palaces. What had happened? The Mycenaean civilization was destroyed by the Dorians, who, though Greek, were totally savage. The earlier population either hid in the mountains or fled to the east. Of all the achievements of the previous civilization, the Dorians left only the essentials, the sailing ship and the potter's wheel. It took a further 4 centuries for them to start adding the most primitive depictions of animals and people. At around the same time, the turn of the 9th and 8th centuries BC, the Greeks.
Bro, it's really wild to me how like back then, like during this time, dude, like all of this lore about like all these civilizations and whatnot. But it's like, how in the world do we just come to that conclusion? Like, hey, let's go kill people, or hey, let's go domesticate these animals, or hey, let's stay together and whatnot. The more you think about it, the more wild it gets, bro. Like when you really and truly think of the origins of humanity, because a lot of people don't even think about that. Like, bro, it goes so deep, so freaking deep. That's what she said. Sorry, but seriously though, like I'm like listening to all this, I'm like, wow. The fact that people just did this, people were like, all right, let's do it. Let's go make some tribes together. Freaking, oh look, let's go freaking cultivate. Let's go domesticate animals. Let's go kill people. Especially killing people is wild. But then again, people today, they a lot of people will go and kill people. Easy peasy, just like this. I told my friends that, or should I say, like the very few people that I know, that I'm pretty sure there's a few people who unironically would want me dead. But I'm not really gonna run into those people. So, but still, it's wild to me, like the origins of all of this stuff, man. Think about it. I want y'all to think about it, and the more you think about it, the more deep you'll realize, like how this truly is, man. Let's continue.
Ionia borrowed a completely new alphabet from their Phoenician neighbors. This bore little resemblance to the linear writing styles of Crete and Mycenae. Do you recognize the modern Greek letters? The fog of dark ages has started to clear.
Okay, so that's where we got our little alphabet,
Only here
sort
do we
of.
begin to recognize ancient Greece, the country that never actually existed. This was no state with an established border or capital, but rather a multitude of distinct and...
It's basically like how the region that we call Germany. Well, there's a country called Germany, but the region back then, before Germany was a state, you know, people call that region Germania or Germania or Germany, right? It's exactly like that. I know what he means.
Independent cities, polises. How did this come about? Greece is a land divided by sea and mountains into separate little parts, of which only a handful was suitable for agriculture.
I feel like this is how every tribe or people start off.
There, across the sea. Thus, the great colonization began. If the first historians are to be believed, Miletus alone founded 90 colonies.
Wow, I've actually heard a lot about Greek colonization. I definitely have to react to this. I gotta react to Greek colonies. I'm very interested in them. I would love to learn a lot about Greek colonies.
The Italian boot was colonized too, followed by the alphabet that would form the basis for Latin and take over the world. Greek civilization spread from the modern-day Rostov-on-Don to Marseille, laying the foundations of the French wine industry.
That is wild.
Scattered from Gibraltar to Georgia. These were containers for grain and wine. The latter was diluted with water in proportions of 1 to 3. Only barbarians would drink it neatly. For trading purposes, coins appeared. Like the alphabet, these too were borrowed from their neighbors.
Wow. Wow. Oh, statues.
According to Plato,
statue. If you saw, you saw.
A few centuries saw the Greeks settled around the Mediterranean like frogs around a pond. And yet, two cities, Athens and Sparta, almost did not participate in colonization. The Spartans descended from the warlike Dorians that had destroyed the Mycenaean civilization. They solved the land issue by conquering their neighbors in the broad, fertile region of Messenia. The locals were declared Helots, something midway between slaves and serfs, and greatly outnumbered the Spartans proper. Sparta transformed from an ordinary polis into a military camp, whose main task was the prevention of any uprising. Things were quite different in Athens. Land hunger there had forced the aristocracy and the people to come to terms. And from this, democracy was born. But first, the tyrants took power.
Wow.
A Greek tyrant did not necessarily terrorize people.
Okay, so when we were doing our Roman history reaction, Rome had a king, right? I think Rome had a king first, right? If I remember correctly, and then it, became like a public thing, quite literally public thing. I remember that from the Roman reaction in 20 minutes. Very interesting, because I was very curious about how ancient Greece became a democracy. I was very, very curious. Now I'm hearing about that. So let's continue.
Rather the opposite. Typically, he was an aristocrat who had quarreled with his peers, holding out promises of a better life. He used the common people's support to seize power by force. From then on, all his energies were focused on retaining power. The tyrant therefore made no reforms and simply drove any rival aristocrats from the polis. To divert the attention of the populace, tyrants introduced and fostered new festivals and cults. The dissatisfied could perish in the brazen bull.
Oh my gosh, these statues. Oh my gosh, YouTube, don't smite me down, YouTube. I am just reacting. I'm just reacting, YouTube. Is it just a historical, educational video, YouTube? Oh my goodness. Why did he have to show the statues with those, oh my, I'm not gonna say it.
Tyrants were overthrown, and the suppressed aristocracy
Oh
attempted to
my god,
negotiate
bro. Oh my gosh, bro. I swear, I cannot. My eyes can't. I can't get my eyes off of it.
people, giving birth to Greek democracy. If an ancient Greek were to see modern democracy, he would just say one word: oligarchy. Ancient democracy
Yeah,
was
yep, 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 yep. That is so facts. That is so freaking facts. I literally have said this in my Russian history reaction video. I always point out how so many people love to say, "Oh, Russia is a bad country because oligarchs rule it and whatnot, bro." America is literally an oligarchy too. America is literally an oligarchy too. America is no different from Russia, bro. I said this in my Russian history video. I'm gonna say it again. America is no different from Russia. It's just that America has more money than Russia. Okay? America is simply the richest country in the world. Alright? I was reading up on this and I was reading other people discuss about this. And someone pointed out how the wealth inequality in America is so bad that usually if you take those numbers and you put them in any other country, you will have a full uprising in that country. But because America is the richest country in the world, people aren't feeling it as hard as they should be, but they're beginning to feel it really hard with the homeless crisis, the living crisis. People are now beginning to really feel it really hard, bro. Like extremely hard. And it's gonna get worse, man. So
direct with no representatives. If a polis had 6,000 citizens, they could all freely participate in the assembly. Admittedly, the number of citizens was less than a quarter of all residents, excluding slaves, women, and the migrant workers called metics.
It's funny to me how ancient Greece had slavery, and nobody talks about that at all. It's funny how history is so cherry-picked. I really hate that.
By the middle of the 6th century, the Ionian cities were most advanced, eclipsing Athens and Sparta. They were the first to master such Eastern innovations as the alphabet, coinage, mathematics, naval fleets, and complex trade logistics. Meanwhile, a sudden threat appeared to their rear.
The vast Persian Empire, yep.
Miletus still hoped to preserve its independence, and with Athenian aid, attempted to resist. Unfortunately, this was in vain, and the Persians torched the city and pressed on. Their attempts to subdue Greece lasted 20 years. We owe our knowledge of this to the first historian, Herodotus. According to his account, as many Greeks fought for the Persians as supported Athens and Sparta. How did they win? The first reason was military innovation. At the Battle of Marathon, the Greeks used the phalanx, a body of troops fighting in close formation.
I love the phalanx, man. These guys are arguably the best unit in history. I don't care what anyone tells me, the phalanx are the best unit in history. Let's continue.
The allegedly lost 6,400 men, and the Athenians a mere 192, plus the messenger who ran the 42,192 meters to Athens to announce the victory, after which
oh yeah, this is actually a myth. Oh, it's a myth. Oh wow, okay.
The second reason was already becoming a meme. At the narrow coastal pass of Thermopylae, King Leonidas led the 300 Spartans, who held back hundreds and thousands of Persians for 3 days. Sure, a few thousand Greeks from other cities and their Hellenic subjects were a big help, yet the Spartan spirit was key. Not for nothing did they live in barracks, even during times of peace. And the third reason
Spartans, man.
Several years prior.
Low-key though, I feel like Spartan, I don't want to say that they're overhyped, but they're kind of overhyped.
Prior to the invasion, silver deposits had been found near Athens. This windfall might have been spent on anything, but it was decided to put it towards the construction of 200 triremes, fast and maneuverable warships with 3 rows of oars.
That is actually cool.
Naval force, the Greeks
that is really cool.
In a decisive naval battle. A counter-offensive began. the Greeks of Sicily defeated their old rival, Carthage. A scattered array of forces thus defended
so Greece and Carthage fought each other. Oh, wow.
the territory in which classical Greek culture was born.
Okay. So that's the lore of all that.
To permanently defeat Persia and liberate the cities in Asia, Athens founded a maritime union. Finally, Athens had become the center of the Greek world. 150 cities agreed to make annual payments for the maintenance of a common army and navy. The treasure was kept on Delos,
this is kind of sort of a Greek state. Sort of. This is like a confederation of sorts.
Apollo. Shortly afterwards, however, patronage was passed to Athene, motivated by greater fiscal reliability, of course. Little imagination is required to suppose which polis was chosen for her headquarters. The most elite real estate in the 5th century BC was the Parthenon. It was constructed not so much as...
Holy crap. Look at all of these cities, man. This place looks so... Modern Greece, man. Bro, modern Greece fell off. I might anger some people saying that, but modern Greece fell off. Modern Greece fell off. You got the classical stuff right here, and then you have modern Greece. Oh, dude. This does not fit right here. Especially with those buildings in the background.
It's a temple, but as a kind of central bank, housing all the Allied treasury. Without these funds, the Greek classics wouldn't have existed at all. No sculpture, drama.
This looks very similar to a building that I saw back in Barbados, in my country when I used to live there. This looks extremely similar to that building. I don't know what it was.
Philosophy. The strategist and orator Pericles became the head of this new financial center. He concluded a 30 years peace with Sparta, restored the Acropolis that had been sacked by the Persians, and extended fortress walls to the city harbor. This was rebuilt to a grid layout, a forerunner to New York. While the sculptor Phidias was
so New York was modeled after that. Okay.
Expressed an outrageous idea that the sun was not the god Hellás, but a burning body equal in size to Peloponnese. A whole great culture was created in half a century.
Okay, look. He was wrong. He was wrong, but he was right about the sun. So
Sparta and its allies grew jealous of Athens' prosperity. A Cold War had smoldered between them ever since the victory over the Persians, and things warmed up in 431 BC. The Spartans and their allies besieged impregnable Athens. Its inhabitants took cover behind the walls. The grain supply from Africa was cut off, and those shipments that made it through brought either typhus or the plague. Even Pericles himself perished.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He was replaced by demagogues.
The leader himself perished. This is like one of the few times I've heard that a leader actually perished from a disease.
Whoever promised the most was elected strategist. So Alcibiades, the unscrupulous nephew of Pericles, became the head of the Athenian armed forces. He proposed a short but victorious war. Let's pack it all in and sail for Sicily, as if the altercations with Sparta weren't enough. The fleet was ready, but something inexplicable happened the night before the voyage.
What
All
happened?
around the city, someone smashed off the most prominent parts of the Hermes statues. Alcibiades was accused of provocation, but he fled to Sparta to beg political asylum. The chief strategist then
was that what? That was that? Was that his? Hold up. Okay, my brain. Was that his groin? He cut off his groin. Am I processing that correctly? I'm not even. What do I say to that? Was that his groin that he cut off? What? Okay, let's continue.
To advise the enemy. The allies began to drop out one by one. Athens agreed to a humiliating peace with the condition of demolishing its defensive walls. They had targeted Hermes, and the might of Athens was crushed. On the bright
Ah.
side, this was the heyday for Greek tragedy and comedy. Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, the three great tragedians, and the comedic playwright Aristophanes created plays that are still relevant today. And yet they penned them in the full confidence that the first production would be the last, as was the way.
That's actually cool. VIP seats. Oh wow.
Drama was always about current events, and while things may have been getting worse in the city, culture flourished.
Alexander the Great and the Hellenic era.
There was no winner in the Peloponnesian
I dropped a few videos on this era. Really love this era.
War. All Greek cities fell into decline. On the other hand, unexpected surprises would come from the Macedonians, distant relatives of the Greeks who had always been regarded as semi-barbarians. And then even the great philosopher Aristotle went to work in Macedonia as tutor to an extremely talented boy. The boy's father was Philip II. It was he who built up the Macedonian kingdom, defeating a Greek coalition. He almost managed to unite Greece in order to fight the Persians. But Philip was killed, and his son, known to us as Alexander the Great, blazed his way through Asia, broke the army of the Persian king Darius, but still refused to turn back, reaching India. Thus, a new world was born.
Yep. I'm currently reacting to this series right now. Oh, love this series. I love it. It didn't really get me that much views, but me personally, I really love this. Probably my #1 favorite series to react to. Definitely go check it out after this video.
Hellenistic world, Greek and Eastern culture blended to form a new whole, as cities by the name of Alexandria sprang up in almost every land, though without any democracy. All officials in Asia spoke Greek, and new Oriental gods became neighbors with the old Greek ones at Mount Olympus.
Oh, wow.
Alexander was proclaimed a god himself in Egypt. Protocol obliged all to follow Eastern tradition.
What is this? What is this thing? What is that? Is that what I think it is? Oh my gosh.
Fall at his feet.
These people are something else.
We can only wonder at how this might have ended. Greek decrees have been found urging the spread of Buddhism, but Alexander died young. Babylon, the place of his death, had become the capital of an empire, which immediately began to crack at the seams.
Wow. I wonder what would have happened if Alexander didn't die young, bruh.
While the successors of Alexander warred with one another, a new ambitious power was growing in the West. In 146 BC, the Romans conquered Greece, and in 30 BC, they conquered the last stronghold of Hellenism, Egypt. But Greek culture was victorious even here. Spread by the Romans, it finally conquered the world. Romans began to read the Iliad and Odyssey in Greek, followed by the Greek New Testament too. In 330, Emperor Constantine built a new city on the site of the old Greek colony of Byzantium, Constantinople. This was the starting point.
So that's where the name Byzantine comes from. Byzantine was like an actual city name, like an actual Greek colony. Oh wow!
The history of the Byzantine Empire, which extended the life of Greek culture another 1,000 years, leaving us the weird Russian alphabet, for instance.
Oh yeah, I heard that the Cyrillic was heavily because Russia wanted to be like the third Rome. A lot of Russia, a lot of stuff in Russia, especially like if you read Russian literature and whatnot, is heavily inspired off of the Eastern Roman Empire. So yeah, that I know. That's probably why like root words and whatnot in Russia is like a big deal. But this was a good one. This was definitely a good one. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any suggestions, someone wanted me to react to this a long time ago, but I didn't do it. I was holding off on it, but I finally did it. I don't know if they watched it. If they don't, oh well. But check out these videos that are appearing on your screen. Subscribe if you like my reactions and whatnot. Check out my other history channels. Make sure to like the video. It takes 5 seconds, guys. 5 seconds, man. And stay tuned for more.